Part A, sketch between 0 and 2 pi, the graph of y equals sine x plus pi over 6. So the way I'm going to do this is to start off by drawing the graph y equals sine x, and then I will consider the pi over 6 in terms of a transformation. So let's just draw the regular sine graph first of all. We're obviously working in radians here. So pi over 2, pi, 3 pi over 2, 2 pi. And we know the sine graph goes from 1 to minus 1. And we'd usually start at 0, go up to 1 at pi over 2, back down to 0 at pi, down to minus 1 at 3 pi over 2, and back up to 0 at 2 pi. So this is the sine x graph. Now let's consider what would happen if I now add the pi over 6 on the inside. So it's on the inside of the function. And when we do something to the inside of the function, it affects the x coordinates only, and we do the opposite. So we are going to subtract pi over 6 from all of the x coordinates. So the x coordinate here was 0. We'd subtract pi over 6 from that, and so it would move to minus pi over 6 here. So I'm just going to extend my graph back a little bit. The x coordinate that was at pi over 2, I'm going to subtract pi over 6 from that. So pi over 2 minus pi over 6, and we get 1/3 pi. So about here. Next, this coordinate here, the pi minus pi over 6 will be 5 pi over 6. The 3 pi over 2 minus pi over 6 will be 4 pi over 3, about there. And then the 2 pi minus the pi over 6 for the final point, the 2 pi minus the pi over 6 is 11 pi over 6, which is about there. So the graph is going to look like this. Let me clear up some of this mess so we can, not that much mess. Okay, we'll leave the blue line in there for now, or even better. So red line's our answer, the blue line was just to help with our rough working out. Right, part B, write down the exact coordinates of the points where the graph meets the coordinate axes. Well, I've already written down where it meets the x-axis, 5 pi over 6, 11 pi over 6. Let's just write those down. So the coordinate 5 pi over 6, 0, and 11 pi over 6, 0. I don't need to include the minus pi over 6 because that's not in the range there. The only other thing I need to include is where it intercepts on the y-axis. Now I know it intercepts on the y-axis when x is 0. So if I were to substitute 0 into the rule, I'd get y equals sine of 0 plus pi over 6. So sine pi over 6 is a half. So it would intercept here at 1/2 on the y-axis. And then finally part C. Solve between 0 and 2 pi the equation sine x plus pi over 6 is equal to 0.65. 5. So we don't need to do any rearranging. We can do sine inverse right at the beginning. Making sure your calculator is in radians now. Sine inverse of 0.65. We get 0.7075, blah, 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 blah. I now want to draw my sine graph to help me to find the other values that it could be. So let's just draw a very quick sine graph. Now I'm going to draw my sine graph a little bit bigger than what I need. I'm going to go up to 5 pi over 2, I think. The reason I'm going to draw my sine graph a little bit bigger than what I need is because I know in a minute I'm going to have to subtract that pi over 6, which could make all the difference. So the 0.65 is about here, roughly. So I've got one solution here, one solution there, and I might have one solution over there, maybe. Maybe not, we'll figure it out. So I know that this is the 0.7057, so therefore this is going to be 0.7057, and this is going to be 0.7057. So we know that one. To get this one, we're going to do pi minus 0.757. And we'll get 2.434. To get this answer here, we're going to do 2 pi plus 0.7075, which is 6.9907. Now we are going to subtract the pi over 6 from each of these answers. So when we do that, the 0.7075 minus pi over 6, we get 0.18 to 2 decimal places. When we do the 2.434 minus the pi over 6, we get 1.91 to 2 decimal places. And when I do the 6.9907 minus the pi over 6, I get 6.47. Now, we only want answers up to 2 pi, and 2 pi in decimals is 6.28. So actually we can see this is... I didn't actually need to include that one, but it was worth double checking just to be sure. So these are the only 2 answers to that equation.